Okay, we reviewed the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus previously, which is this phone, and we're taking a look at the non-Plus version today, the OPPO Reno10. There are a lot of differences between these two phones, and we'll be skipping a lot of the points because, they're mostly the same, and we'll only highlight most of the differences. So let's begin. Alright, the OPPO Reno10 Pro has a slightly smaller size, but they are still pretty much the same shape, and they both have a curved screen with 120Hz refresh rate and also the same resolution of 2772 by 1240 pixels. This screen is fantastic. It covers nearly 100% for both sRGB and DCI-P3 color gamuts with a maximum delta E number of 2.48. The maximum brightness that it can go though is a bit lower on the non-Plus version, only at about 800 nits, which is still perfectly fine for outdoor usage, so I'm not worried about that. But both of these phones have the same issue of having the under-display fingerprint scanner way too low, and it's just not comfortable to use at all. Now, let's take a look at the cameras then. The OPPO Reno10 Pro has a completely different telephoto camera. It's a pancake lens with 2x optical zoom that results in a 48mm focal length and a 32MP sensor instead of a 64MP one. But this pancake lens means that it will have a larger aperture of f2.0, and that is particularly important for low light shots. To me, the 2x optical zoom looks a bit strange here. The exposure is off and everything seems to be a bit more washed out, and the outdoor shots are a bit noisy even for bright outdoor shots, and I have no idea why this is happening. But the main camera though is the exact same one as the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus, so you will get great colors, great clarity, and the pictures are just amazing, honestly. However, the ultra-wide camera is the same between these two phones, which is not that good, so you just have a look at all the samples here. Either way, I have to commend OPPO for completely removing the depth sensor and the 2MP macro camera, and yeah, just good job there. Now, there's one thing that's vastly different between these two phones, and that is the chipset. Of course, the OPPO Reno10 Pro is going to be lower in price, hence it will also have a lower tier of specs compared to the Pro Plus variant. So, this phone will only be getting the Snapdragon 778G chipset. This chipset is, well, 2 years old at this point, and I mean, it is still a fantastic mid-range chipset in the year 2023. We can still get about 40 to 50 FPS in Genshin Impact with the lowest graphical settings. But remember, you will still get a lot of frame drops. This is the same frame rate that we are getting on the Pro Plus variant with the highest graphical settings on Genshin Impact, which is a big gap in terms of performance. And then that leads us to the battery life. Now, the Pro has 100mAh less than the Pro Plus, so that 46mAh battery might not seem like a lot, but thanks to the Snapdragon 778G chipset, it is super power efficient, and we're getting about 11.5 hours in our standardized battery life tests, and that's actually very good, even for year 2023, like what I mentioned earlier. Another difference between these two phones is the charger that is included in the box. The Pro Plus comes with a 100W charger, whereby the Pro comes with an 80W charger. It still charges from 15% to completion in about half an hour, but the temperature is very high and it can reach somewhere around 45 degrees Celsius, and I presume that is because this phone is using a single cell battery. The software though is also pretty much the same, and I just want to point out that the bloatware on this phone is exponentially more. I mean, we're talking about pages upon pages of bloatware. The last page of bloatware appears only when I'm starting to update the phone's apps, by the way. Imagine that, once you update, then more bloatware appears, like what? And both of these phones also have an IR blaster at the top, and you can customize what you want it to do via the app provided by OPPO, and then you can start adding your remotes and whatnot. And if you're familiar with how Xiaomi's IR blaster app works, then this is practically the same and it's very easy to use. There are some differences in terms of design as well. The Pro Plus has a glossy finish, whereby the Pro has a matte finish, which I think is much nicer, honestly. And the camera cutout design is also slightly different, and that kind of depends on how you want your camera cutouts to look like. And that's about it in terms of the differences between the OPPO Reno10 Pro Plus versus the OPPO Reno10 Pro. The price gap between these two phones though is humongous. I'm talking about 1,300 ringgit leap. The gap is mainly due to two things, the chipset and also the optical zoom capability of these two phones. But referring back to the OnePlus Nord 3 that we reviewed previously, I'll say that the Reno 10 Pro is way too expensive. They are both at the same price, but the Nord 3 comes with a Dimensity 9000 chipset, a version of ColorOS with zero bloatware called Oxygen OS, and they also have the same charging speed, but OnePlus doesn't have such high temperatures while charging. So I'll leave you all of the links and also our review of the OnePlus Nord 3 down in the description below, and do let us know what you think about this phone, and we'll see you guys in the next video.